All right, what's going on, my friends? It is now 3 o'clock. Trailblazers 3-2 after last night's victory over the Jazz, 136-134. Big night for both Drew Holiday and Deni Avdija. Portland returns home. They'll host the Denver Nuggets tomorrow night at Moda Center. Tip-off at 7. Chris Burkhart with Blazers Game Day at 5. Right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Each and every Trailblazers game streams live on our free iHeartRadio app. Our Trailblazer insider Sean Highkin will join me coming up at 3:20. Dave Deckard from Blazers Edge at 5. Thursday Night Football on Prime, 5:15. Miami. The Ravens are a 7.5-point favorite over the Dolphins. Oregon's got a bye this weekend. Oregon State will host Washington State at 4:30. Pregame at 2:30 on your home of the Beavs, 1190 KX. Cougars a 3.5-point favorite. World Series Game 6 tomorrow from Toronto. First pitch at 5 on Fox. The Blue Jays 1 win away from a world championship. We'll talk Nuggets and Broncos at 5:20 with Ryan Edwards. Rip City Drive coming up next.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive. Hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Looks for Kessler underneath. Blocked by Klingon. Loose ball grabbed by Avdija. Into the front court behind his back. Drives to the rim and lays it in. Spectacular dribbling by Deni Avdija for the pair. 86-76. Blazers in front. Inbound to Sharp. Back to Kamara. Kicks it back up top. Now to Avdija. Ball faking a drive through a couple of defenders. Dumps it off the Klingon underneath with the two-hand smash. 95-81. Blazers have their largest lead. Here's Deni with it. Top of the key. Now he attacks. Drive, stops, slings it to Kamara. Open straightaway three. That's good. The Blazers needed that one. Third made three of the night for Kamara. He's got 17, 127-116. Filipowski will get one more. He missed it on purpose. Rebound, Drew Holiday. 2 seconds left. He's going to dribble out the clock. It's a Rip City winner.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Right now on my phone, I'm getting a call from Strategic Research Focus. It's a 509 area code. That is definitely a decline. There's certain phone numbers you're like, I don't know who they are, and that sounds like something I don't want to answer. I mean, cell phones can't actually make a clear phone call, but at least they alert you to potential scams or people you don't want to talk to, which is a good thing. All right, what's up, my friends? I am here live at Spirit Mountain Casino, sitting in the BetMGM Sportsbook, getting ready for the finale of the 30th anniversary drawings. They've done drawings every single night of the entire month, every single night, all throughout the week, and they've been collecting the top prize winners each and every day of $1,000, and those 30 individuals will get together tonight for a chance at $3 million. So I will be the Bob Barker for that entire setup. The drawing times tonight at 6, 7, and 8, and then the grand finale for $3 million at 8:15. So I'm here, and I'm excited about the show today because I've got some very good people coming up. Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Reports, coming up at 3:20. We'll get his take on the team coming off the road win against Utah. Shaky at times in the fourth quarter, but they get the job done. Trailblazers now 3-2. Nuggets in town tomorrow night. Sean Highkin coming up at 3:20. At 4:20. My man, Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, is going to join. We will shed tears over the Dodgers' failures thus far in the World Series, and then we'll get into a very interesting weekend of NFL football. And this is one of those weekends for you bettors out there. Based on the people I've spoken with, just tread lightly out there because the card looks like it's a setup for the house to have a bounce-back week. In fact, last weekend, the public, the favorites, went an unprecedented 12-2 straight up and against the spread. And there was only one game decided by single digits. That is rare when you see the public have such a good run like that. And what that means for the house is that a lot of the teasers and the parlays hit as well. So, and a lot of the numbers you look at this week, like Chicago -3 at Cincinnati, the Jacksonville Jaguars -2.5 or 3 at the Raiders. There's a lot of games you look at on paper, you're like, that's a no-brainer. But anytime it looks like a no-brainer, how about the Giants -2.5 at the 49ers -2.5 at the Giants? It looks too easy. And it just reminds me of what my dad used to always warn me about when I was younger. If it seems too good to be true, It usually is. Those are good words to live by. So we'll talk with Justin Ballinger coming up at 4:20. At 5 o'clock, Dave Deckard from BlazersEdge.com. He's the man behind the site. We'll talk with him and get his take on what he has seen from this Trailblazer squad early in the season with their pace of play and their defense, which is making me very happy. And then at 5:20, Ryan Edwards, my good friend from KOA in Denver, will join us. We'll talk Broncos as they get ready to take on the Texans, but most importantly, this matchup coming up tomorrow night with the Denver Nuggets in town. They're playing good ball. They did a great job during the offseason to retool the bench. They've got added depth, and it's going to be a tall order, but the Blazers right now, you got to love the way they're playing. And I thought last night was a good example. We're seeing all of these little things that I've been talking about for years. One being that in the NBA, because of the schedule and how often you're traveling, it's very difficult for NBA teams to have their best stuff, their best offense on most nights because of the travel, the fatigue, the lack of practice time. Sometimes you just got to grind your way through and find ways to get wins. And the good teams, what they do, the way they find ways to win when they don't have their best stuff, is they come up with different ways to attack and get the job done, namely through defense and through pressure and creating easy opportunities and transition by forcing turnovers. And the Blazers right now are catching teams off guard because their pressure defense and their pace is very difficult to keep up with. And we saw it again last night. Utah came out in the first quarter, put up 43 points. They were making their shots. They looked comfortable. But the Blazers continued to attack and apply pressure. And between the second and third quarters, the Trailblazers put up 84 points. And they forced a number of turnovers. And through the pressure, they built a 22-point lead. And thank goodness they did because they nearly gave it away in the fourth quarter. They got stagnant on offense. They started to make some boneheaded plays with the turnovers. And Utah was able to scrap their way back because the officiating was once again a total disaster. And Utah shot like 1 billion free throws last night. It's like, hey, refs, I'm not asking you to be perfect, but can you be better than garbage? I know the answer is no, but can you do something, please? I mean, the free throws, it got ridiculous. Now, the Blazers are partly to blame for that. Can you defend without fouling? Can you try to be in position so you're not reaching and grabbing and stuff? Goodness gracious, the officiating, whatever. You know, it is what it is. What do I tell you? What's my way of dealing with this matter? The stress that I have from watching poorly officiated games. I go into every game assuming that they're going to be garbage. And then when they are, right on cue, I won't get frustrated because I'm already mentally prepared for what they're going to do or what they're not going to do or the calls they're going to miss or the foul calls are going to, have a great disparity like they did last night. Or whatever. I just like the way the Blazers are playing. The intensity and commitment to defense, the pressure they're applying, the pace they're playing at, it is a beautiful thing. And by the way, Drew Holiday is awesome. He's a great pro. We've all known it for a long time, even after he killed the Blazers in that playoff series when the Pelicans and Blazers met up in the first round. We've known how good Drew Holiday is. The guy is really good. He's a great leader, and last night he once again came up big time, especially late in the game. He makes good decisions. He gets in the right position. He just understands the game. And you can tell when Tiago Splitter talks about Drew Holiday how much he cares about the guy and how much he appreciates being able to coach him and have him on the team. I'm a big fan of Drew. Denny Avdia was great last night. Is it too much to ask, Denny? Look, we love you, and you are critical to everything Portland is doing. You're playing like an all-star. Can you please not fall as awkwardly as you do? Denny Avdia has got a way of getting up in the air, and he crashes to the ground in ways where bones are going to break. And I'm worried he's going to hurt himself. Denny, you fell down at the Clipper game. I thought you ripped up your Achilles. My heart skipped a beat. Last night you came down awkwardly, and I thought you broke your wrist. Just for my own well-being, can you please stop doing that? Denny, you are a great player. You do everything on the floor. You play with great intensity. You're a willing defender. You can defend multiple spots. You can run the offense. You're attacking the rim like a weirdo. Stop falling awkwardly, please, for my own well-being. So, very happy with where the Blazers are at. They went 2-1 on the road trip. Anytime you go 2-1 on the road trip, come back with a winning record, come back with a 500 record, you're doing things right, and that was very nice. The other thing is, too, is like you wonder, well, Chad, it was just against Utah. They're not a very good team. I looked up the number last night because I wanted to make sure that it was right in my mind. Lifetime going into the game last night, Portland had won 25 games in their history, games regular season at Utah. 25-70 was their record. They're now 26 wins. It's not easy winning there. They've had good teams. They've got the altitude. They've got the loud, annoying fans. You got a lot of things going against you. It's the end of a road trip. And the Blazers found a way to scrap and get a victory. I don't care if it's ugly, how it looked, or whatever. Always better to learn in a situation where you get a win. But how can you not be pumped up with this team? Everyone agrees. They play hard and they're fun to watch. Well, I can get behind that. And they got a lot of individuals, unique players. And by the way, Shaden Sharp started feeling it last night, 4 of 8 from downtown. He had a little heat check that was answered in the second quarter, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Get our boy Sharp rolling a little bit. It was nice to see. So, as we mentioned before, 3 games, 4 games, not a sample size. You don't need to make bold judgments. Oh, Sharp's terrible. What was he doing during the offseason? Did he work on a shot? He's going to be fine. But it was nice to see him. Oh, Chad, I thought they put in the work in the offseason. What's going on here? Why is Sharp putting up bricks? Because it's the NBA. Guys go through shooting streaks. It happens. They're going to be fine. But it was nice to see him get things going, and the Blazers continuing to willingly commit to the defensive end. And Tiago Splitter, he's kind of a calming presence. He's kind of low-key. I like that. I'm down with Tiago. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say that it's a good thing that Chauncey got disrupted this season by the feds, that he was pulled away and arrested because of the investigation. Like, I'm not willing to go that far with Tiago. I like Tiago, but I need more than a few games to know that he's going to be the answer at head coach. But that's the way people think, oh, this is a good thing. And that's not good ever when your coach gets arrested in an FBI sting. That's not a good thing. And I'm not going to call it a blessing in disguise. Let's give Tiago some time to work into it just a little bit. Oh, but Chad, look at the way they've responded to him. I know it's nice, but I'm not going to go as far to say that it was a good thing that he got tied up into that mess, all right? Just ease up a little bit. Settle down, okay? I understand that none of you like Chauncey to begin with because he was hired by Olshey. I get it. But let's just let this breathe a little bit before we know. But the players themselves are working their tails off, and I love that. I may get to it, I may not, but for some reason my bosses love to send me voicemails that are directed at our station from people that are crazy. And this guy thought we said something we didn't. I mean, I just don't understand how you can call up and drop a few F-bombs and think that's a good way to roll. And, of course, I responded to the guy via email explaining that what he thought was us was not us. But do you think I've gotten the apology back? No. No, just people firing away on their voicemails. It's okay. It's crazy, man. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Justin Ballinger, Sportsbook Manager, coming up at 4:20. We'll talk about the NFL lines and get his take on some of the matchups. It looks pretty sticky this weekend for the public. Be careful out there. It's a dangerous world. We're going to talk with Ryan Edwards, get his take on the Nuggets and the Broncos. I think the Broncos are in trouble this weekend after 5 straight wins against the Texans. It's going to be good. And Dave Deckard of BlazersEdge.com. I haven't spoken with him since the season began, so I want to get his take on what he's seeing with this team and their pressure defense. All right, so reach out to me, 503-248-0620. You can jump on board. Sean Highkin's going to join us next. You can reach out to me on social, at Chad and Rip City, or you can just send me a text message at 360-281-5473. All right, let's do this, man. It's going to be a big show. Hanging out at Spirit Mountain Casino. Blazers back in action tomorrow. They host the Nuggets. Tip-off at 7 from Moda, and it's all right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Yeah, such a great song. This is the song, and this is the only song I've ever sang karaoke to. When I was 20 years old up in Canada. And it's never happening again. All right, very happy to go to the phones. This guy here is our Trailblazer Insider. He's with Rose Garden Report, and he's back on the Rip City Drive, Sean Highkin. Hey, Sean, what did you see from your vantage point in that fourth quarter last night that allowed Utah to close the game on a 34-14 run and put a scare on the Trailblazers? What went wrong?
I think the Blazers just kind of started trying to not make mistakes and trying not to turn the ball over, and they kind of got out of their offense a little bit and started missing shots, and then that led to some transition opportunities for Utah. But the Blazers were able to hold on at the end.
Yeah, thankfully. And it looked like, the officiating, the Jazz shot like a million free throws last night, but I did think the Blazers, they do at times, they'll get out of position and they reach, they'll foul. And I guess that's going to be a challenge for them as they continue to attack with this new pressure, learning how to defend without fouling.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think at some point, like early on in the season, there are, they still kind of have this reputation from previous years as like this all offense, no defense team that they've kind of been seen as in previous years, when in reality what they are is kind of the opposite. So I think after the first month and a half of the season, the word will kind of start to get out on them that they're more of a physical defensive team, and then I think they'll start getting officiated accordingly, and people will kind of start letting some of that stuff go. But that's just kind of an early season adjustment for the identity.
Yeah, that makes sense. The one thing I like about that game yesterday is that sometimes you got to find a way to win ugly games on the road. I looked up the stat. You probably knew this, but going into last night's game, lifetime games played in Utah during the regular season, Portland was just 25-70 going in. So that was win number 26. And you know what? Anytime you go on a road trip, if you come back 500 or better, I feel like you're doing something right. So I feel like that was a success for Portland to get the win at Utah. Ugly as it may be, you come back with a 2-1 road trip. That's not bad.
2-1 on the road trip, and now 3-2 on the season, heading into what I think we would all agree is a pretty tough stretch over the next couple of weeks. They've got these next three games at home starting tomorrow, but they're against Denver, the Lakers, and Oklahoma City. Now, granted, the Lakers might still not have LeBron James or Luka Doncic back by then, but that's still not a matchup to take lightly. And then you've got Denver and Oklahoma City, who people thought going into the season arguably were going to be the two best teams in the West, and Oklahoma City is still looking every bit like the title favorite repeat. So getting this game against Utah is you get the ones that you're against the teams that you're supposed to beat, and then hope you can just kind of break even against the teams that are better than you. Yeah,
no question about it. Denver, I'm impressed. I thought going into the year, I really liked what they did to kind of beef up their, second unit to add some quality depth behind Jokic and Murray. And so far early in the season, I like what I see. Adelman's done a good job, but that team looks really good. Like, they did a good job of adding some quality depth, which was desperately lacking in the postseason last year.
Yeah, bringing back Bruce Brown was huge for them, and then some of the other kind of more ancillary moves that they made. That team's going to be good.
There's no question about it. Drew Holiday, another big night last night for the Blazers, and it's not that we don't know this. The guy's one of the great pros in the NBA, but you can hear from Coach Splitter after the game in the way he talks about him, how nice it must be for him to be able to coach him and have someone that can be that calming presence, but more importantly, just usually going to make the right basketball decision. What did you think about Drew's game last night?
Well, the Drew acquisition has been a home run since the season started. It's been everything that the front office hoped that it would be since they made that trade back in June to get him. Like, he's just been totally plug and play on both ends of the floor. You heard J.J. Redick the other night after the Laker game say that he just completely blew them up defensively. And then, if he needs to take over late as a scorer like he did last night where he ended up with 28 points, he can do that too. I think a thing with Drew is last year with the Celtics, he had kind of a down year, and it looked like maybe he was starting to fall off a little bit. I think a big thing you kind of have to attribute that to is the fact that the year before, not only did he play deep into the finals, deep into June in the finals with the Celtics, but then he also went and played in the Olympics with Team USA. So he basically didn't have a summer off last year, and you've always kind of seen what happens to those guys that play a lot during the summer, for some of this other stuff, and this year it was a little bit different. The Celtics, because of the Jason Tatum injury, got eliminated in the second round, and then Drew had a whole summer off and he got traded and basically didn't have to start really, doing any high-level stuff until closer to training camp, and now he's a lot fresher, which at his age is pretty important.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The other thing that was nice about the game last night, Tiago Splitter played a variety of different guys, but it was nice to see, Blake Wesley had a positive impact. DeWap Reef had a few threes in that first half, so he had a good contribution. But it's nice to see the Blazers playing multiple guys, and so far through 5 games, many of them have stepped up to assist and make some game-winning plays. I like it.
Yeah, they've had to adjust a little bit because Matisse Thybulle missed the Laker game with the hip soreness, and then last night he left early with a thumb injury. Chris Murray, who's been in the rotation as kind of a 9th or 10th guy, missed last night's game with an illness. So they kind of had to adjust. And you saw Wap get in there for the first time in non-garbage time. He hit a few 3-pointers. You saw Rayon Rupert make a few nice defensive plays after not really getting much playing time at the beginning of the season. So they have different guys who are contributing.
That's awesome. I'm very impressed. The latest on Thybulle, with the thumb, do you know anything about it? Is it serious, or was it just precautionary to take him out last night?
I actually don't really know too much about what's going on there. That was just kind of he missed the Laker game, and then he with a hip thing, and then he was good to go last night. He got in, only played a few minutes, got a couple of steals, and then he hurt his thumb. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow whether he's going to be good to go against Denver or not.
We're talking to Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider, from Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. The Shaedon Sharpe, you and I weren't concerned. It's 3 games, he's missed some shots. Those, you get good looks, eventually they'll start to fall. But I felt like last night he had that heat check from downtown in the first half. It seemed like he started to kind of find the range, so I'm hoping that this will be, kind of a launching point for him to really get the offense going. But what'd you think about Shea last night?
I thought that was his best game of the season. He was efficient. He was kind of more controlled than he has been. He wasn't just kind of just throwing up shots. I am definitely monitoring, though, what he looks like physically because Splitter said something after the game about how he was kind of trying to manage his minutes because he had some sort of a limp going on. I wasn't really able to find out anything concrete about that, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on for sure.
Oh, that's terrific. Sean Highkin is with us. So overall, what's your overall assessment? 5 games, what are you seeing? Do you see, and what I'm hearing from Blazer fans is just the overall energy and effort is there. They love the defense and the team's fun to watch. But what would your assessment be through 5 and what you've seen?
It's been about what I thought it would be. The defense is legit, and the offense is going to be kind of hit or miss depending on the night. So. I think they're going to win some games because of, that maybe they shouldn't win because of just, how much they bother people on the defensive end. And they're at some point, and they almost did it last night with Utah, and they did that with, Minnesota and the Clippers games that they lost. They're going to lose some games that they probably should win because their offenses are going to be able to do it now. So it's going to, it's kind of a give and take.
All right. Oh, one little side note I wanted to ask you about. During that Laker game, it was Thybulle who got a technical on the bench for complaining about a missed call when somebody, maybe Shaedon or someone, got hit in the head. That's not too often that you see a player who's not in action in street clothes get called for a technical foul, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one happen too often.
But it was great. Thybulle was kind of laughing about it or whatever, but I just thought that was interesting. Well, I'll tell you what. Denver, you mentioned them being one. Do you think they're right up there near the top with Oklahoma City as one of the 2 best teams in the Western Conference? Where would you put them at in the pecking order right now?
I don't think anybody so far in the season has looked as good as Oklahoma City early on, but out of the teams besides Oklahoma City, I would put Denver right at the top.
Yeah, they've been pretty good. Yeah, they look nice. I like it. All right, Sean, I think that's all I got for you for now, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and then we look forward to tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
All right, Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. Telephone number here if you want to reach out, 503-248-0620. You can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. And the Blazers tomorrow hosting the Nuggets. Tip-off time from Moda Center at 7. And Chris Burkhart will have game day starting at 5 o'clock. We're going to talk with Justin Ballinger, our sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, coming up at 4:20. And take a look at the NFL card this weekend. That should be nice. And then we'll talk some Nuggets and Broncos with Ryan Edwards, that'll be at 5:20. Dave Deckard from BlazersEdge.com is coming up at 5. I can't wait to get his take. And I'd love to hear from you. If you want to reach out and tell me, like, what do you think about the way this team's playing right now? Are you excited about the 3-2 start? What do you think about the defense? Do you like the pace? Like, what's your overall take on what you're seeing right now? I mean, I feel like it's pretty good. You can see the makings of what they're putting together. And it's not a finished product. It's going to continue to take some time. But, man, the guys are playing hard. And when you play with that much energy and that much effort and you play hard, good things are going to happen. There's no question about that. So I'm pretty excited about that. And we'll see. Now we got the World Series coming up tomorrow, Game 6 in Toronto. It feels like an impossibility for the Dodgers to get back-to-back wins based on what I saw in the previous 2 games in Toronto and win the championship and make it back-to-back. It's like the worst fears have come true for the Dodgers. The biggest thing that plagued them down the stretch, they go through these hot and cold moments with the bats, and right now they're cold. And then if you get through their starter, they bring in guys in the bullpen who are just absolute gas cans, like Trinan. Really just take your pick. Aside from that ridiculous performance by Will Klein in Game 3, most of the guys in that bullpen right now are not reliable, aside from Sasaki. They just bring in guys. They just ignite themselves on the mound and game over. And the Blue Jays, I got to give them props, man. That is a gutsy, tough baseball team. They have ways of bouncing back. Even after that 18-inning, heart-wrenching loss to the Dodgers, they bounce back and take 2 straight. And they've gotten clutch play from a variety of guys, some guys you don't expect. So maybe the only hope for the Dodgers right now, you're going to have Yamamoto on the bump tomorrow. He's going to have to be aggressive and attack the zone, and you got to hope that he can put together another gym. And if he does, maybe if he can push it to a Game 7, you give the Dodger bats time to get going. But really, if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, it's an embarrassment when you spend that much money and you can't get over the hump. When you spend billions of dollars and none of the key guys that you have can get hot at the right time or come up with a clutch hit. And they've had some defensive errors and some base running issues that have been kind of mind-boggling. Teoscar Hernandez kind of falls asleep in the outfield from time to time. Not sure what's going on with that guy. I don't know. Interesting, though. But the Blue Jays on the verge. On the verge. But that Game 6 should be good because Yamo's going to, he'll nut up and pitch well. But the problem is with the Dodger bats right now, they're so ice cold. Toronto gets a run off Yamo, it might be enough to win the game and then take the series. And then, unfortunately, we have to see Canada celebrate a World Series. We don't want that. I don't want that. I want to continue to make sure they don't get a taste of a championship. It's been forever since they've won a cup, and that's driving them crazy. So we'll see. We'll see how things shake out, but not looking good for the Dodgers right now. And their bullpen cannot be trusted. Can't be trusted. Yamo's going to have to go a complete game tomorrow. No pressure, though, Yamo. We know you've already done 2 complete games in a row and have been dominant. But based on the bullpen and how they can't be trusted, we just need you to go out and do it again. Hey, Coach, what are you thinking tonight? 9 innings, maybe 2 hits, no runs. That should be enough to get the job done. No problem. I got you. That's how bad it is with the bullpen right now. Like Trinan right now is a complete wreck, just a gas can out there. He'll get lit up. It really doesn't matter who they go to. They can't be trusted. So we'll see. But Toronto, I got to give them credit, man. They look good. And they were clutch again last night. And they've been getting, quality, pitching performances from their starters. Bieber's been nice. Scherzer, they've had different guys step up. And the Dodgers, I thought Snell did a good job of settling down last night after giving up a couple of solo bombs in that first inning. But, again, because of the bats, he needs to be perfect. And he couldn't be perfect last night. It's crazy. So we'll see. We'll see. But the NFL games, we'll get to it with Justin. But I'm telling you, man, last week I couldn't believe it. The favorites 10-2, straight up ending against the spread. And now you look at this week, and there's a number of games we'll ask him about where you look at it just on paper, you're like, that's a no-brainer. The problem is when you're communicating to yourself it's a no-brainer, that means you're about to get punked. And usually what happens is when the public has a big favorite run and gets over, the next weekend's kind of a bounce back, a correction week for the books. So we'll see. But we'll take a look at the matchups. Loving the Texans over the Broncos this weekend. I like the way the Seahawks are playing. I saw that where Sam Darnold, since 2020, is averaging like 27.5 points coming off a bye. He's playing good football right now. You got to love that with the Hawks. And I think you're going to have 3 teams. If the 49ers can continue to patch it together well enough with the duct tape, even with the injuries they're having, you're probably going to get 3 teams from the NFC West into the postseason. That'd be my rough guess. That's probably what it's looking like there. I don't know. Not sure. We'll see. So that's what we got going. Justin Ballinger's going to join the show at 4:20. Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, is going to join us at 5 o'clock. We'll get his take on what he's seeing from the Blazers. And then we'll get some insight on the Nuggets. You heard from Sean. He thinks Oklahoma City by far right now the best team in the Western Conference, the defending champs. I don't have a problem with that assessment. And then with the Nuggets, they're not far behind. And they added depth, and they've got a good, second rotation they can bring in and trust, which is good. And you got the high-level play of Jokic. And I'm very happy for Adelman that he got that gig, that he's got a chance to go out there and showcase what he can do. But if you look at the top of the Western Conference, right now Oklahoma City, San Antonio and Oklahoma City unbeaten. Golden State's at 4-1. Their only loss coming at Portland. Denver's at 3-1, and right now Portland is 3-2 along with Memphis and the LA Lakers. And the next 3 games for Portland coming up against Denver, the Lakers, and Oklahoma City. So 3 consecutive tough home games against Western Conference contenders. But it would be nice to see Portland, come back home and get a win over Denver. And again, it's going to be fun to watch, even against the better opponents. I want to see how they respond to the pace and the pressure that Portland's bringing. Because you show up to a regular season game and you're not accustomed to playing like the way Portland's trying to dictate, they'll catch you off guard. And before you know it, they go on a big run, force a bunch of turnovers, and they just put you on your heels. And they don't let up. They just keep hammering you with the pressure. And we saw that pressure really start to take control of the game last night in Utah until the Blazers grew a little bit stagnant there in that fourth quarter. But, man, I love that type of pressure. I love taking the fight to other teams. This is just, we haven't seen the Blazers play like this. It's a new brand of Blazer basketball. Like, super aggressive. They're in attack mode all the time, and they want to get out and push the tempo. And I like that because they get easy buckets. And they've got multiple guys who are playing really well. But I agree with Sean. Shaedon Sharpe last night had his best game of the season thus far. He was efficient. He was able to get knocked down some of the three-point shots, 4 of 8. But, he's so comfortable in his offensive game in terms of getting to his spots. And then he's got the athleticism, the elevation to get up over the top of guys. It's a lot of fun to watch. Young Hansen struggled in his minutes last night on the floor. Got to see him tangle up with Jusuf Nurkic a bit, which was kind of cool. But Donovan Clingan, once again, with some toughness down low. The rim protection, the toughness, he's out there competing, and I like that. All right, 503-248-0620 if you want to jump on board. We'll talk to Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager from Spirit Mountain, coming up at 4:20. Dave Deckard at 5, and we'll head to Denver at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. Chad doing with you on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right. Tony out in Boring just hit me up. Look, I don't say things for effect, and I'm not using some type of reverse psychology when it comes to the Broncos. I love the Texans to beat the Broncos this weekend. Every game, every week's different in terms of situational matchups. The problem that Denver's going to have this weekend, and we'll talk about with Ryan Edwards coming up at 5:20, is as good as Denver's defense is, and it's good. They lead the NFL. They have 36 sacks through 8 games. How absurd is that? The all-time mark is the Chicago Bears. What is it, 72 that they had? 84 Bears. Not the 85 Bears, but the 84 Bears. Sacks by 84 Bears. I think it's 72. 72 sacks. So the Broncos are on pace to beat that number. They're on pace. They have a chance to set the all-time mark for sacks in an NFL season by a team. It was set by the 84 Bears with 72. So the Broncos' defense has been great, but the Texans' defense is equally great, and Will Anderson's a freak of nature. So, but here's the issue. Like Denver, they run man coverage more than 50% of the time, by far the most in the NFL. But part of the reason why they're able to do that is because they have the Defensive Player of the Year in Pat Surtain, who is also the best corner in the league. So he's like prime time. You put him out there, and you can pretty much know that side of the field's not really going to be attacked, that he takes away half the field. And so what that allows you to do when you have him and then Riley Moss, and you've got a good nickel corner, they can blitz, they can run man, they can bring all sorts of different exotic packages to put pressure on the quarterback. They've got the good rush ends and Jonathan Cooper and Nick Casabenito. Like, they've got those dudes, right? But now the problem is Surtain's going to be out for a few weeks with he strained his pec. So the dreaded pec strain is going to keep him out of the lineup for a few weeks, which means instead of having Pat Surtain, you have a corner like Chris Abrams-Drain, who's not nearly the same player. Nobody is in comparison to Surtain because he's the best. So that's going to change up how they play defense. That means a little bit more zone. That means you won't be able to be quite as aggressive, and that could open up some opportunities for C.J. Stroud, who was 30 of 39 last week. The Texans also found a bit of a run game. They had balance. Their offensive line is hot trash, and they have struggled against teams that have the best pressure rate in the NFL, like Denver. But there could be an adjustment period without Surtain on the field. So I think it could give the Texans an opportunity, who seem to be finding themselves last week against the 49ers with the short passing game. And then the problem with the Texans' defense is that they're just awesome. And so as good as Denver's been over the last 5 quarters against the fourth quarter against the Giants in that absurd comeback, and then the 4 quarters against Dallas, those two teams are not good. Dallas is basically a piece of crap and worst defense in the league, and then the Giants are the Giants. So Bo Nix was great, and I'm not trying to knock Bo. I'm just saying that I need to see it against quality defensive opponent on the road. My guess is how it's going to go. I think the total in this game was set at it's like 39 or 40. It's probably going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a situation where Bo Nix is going to struggle to move the football, and the Texans' defense will be enough to win the game, and it'll probably be a field goal win for the Texans. That's pretty much how I see that going down. Plus, the early line movement, Denver opened up as like a 1.5 point favorite. They're now an underdog by a point and a half. That would tell me that the sharp money's probably moved in on Houston. So there you have it. I like Houston to beat Denver, and I like the Steelers at home against the Colts, getting 3.5. Those are kind of the 2 games I'm eyeing. And then all these other games you look at on the card, and you're like, that seems too good to be true. Well, probably because it is. A lot of games you look at, you're like, that's a no-brainer. Like the 49ers minus 2.5 at the Giants, who just lost Cam Scatterboo. It looks like a no-brainer. And that's when you get scared, because you know that anytime something looks like a no-brainer, you know you're about to get punked. The other games that would fit that mold would be Jacksonville minus 2.5 at the Raiders. And I love the Raiders sucking, of course, but that's a dangerous game. And the other one that fits that would be the Bears minus 3 at Cincinnati. Because you look at it and you're like, well, Cincinnati's bad. The Bears are playing better football. Cincinnati's got injury concerns. A no-brainer. So that's how we'll know. You look at those 3 games after the end of the weekend, and then we'll see how good the public is able to do this weekend. But I'm very concerned about Denver this weekend. And the reason why, here's the thing about Denver, and I'll be so ticked off if they blow it this year. They're sitting there at the top of the division at 6-2, and you've got the Chiefs with 3 losses. They got to play at Buffalo this weekend, and they get Kansas City coming up in Denver here in a couple of weeks. There is no excuse at this point of the season, based on where Denver's at and the schedule they've got remaining, not to win the AFC West. It's all right there for their taking. But they'll blow it. They'll find a way, like starting with a game this weekend against the Texans, who have been, basically for the most part not good on offense. But it just goes to show you, man, when you have a good defense and you can put pressure on the quarterback and you can kind of dictate play, even with an offense that's underperformed, you can find ways to win games. You run the football a little bit and you play good defense, you got a chance to make noise in the NFL. I mean, it's always been like that. It's a very simple game. Defense is everything. Sean and Sandy wants to deliver a hot take. He says, Chad, my hot take today is Sean and Sandy believes the Trailblazers might end the season with a better win-loss record than Mike Brown's New York Knickerbockers. That's a hot take. That's a scorching hot take. I predicted, I think the Blazers are going to get to 45 wins. I think they'll be 45-37. I don't know what that's going to net you in the Western Conference because it's such a deep conference. But the Knicks, I mean, if you take a look at the East right now, the Knicks might be the number 1 seed. They might end up being the number 1 seed. What do you got in the Eastern Conference? What do you guys think about this? Chicago and Philly both 4-0 right now. Miami and Milwaukee at 3-1. Cleveland at 3-2. Detroit at 3-2. Knicks are at 2-2. My guess would be the Knicks, based on their roster and the conference they play in, they'll be competing for one of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference. So, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But my guess is the Knicks would have a better record than Portland just on the basis of the conference they play in. I mean, if the Blazers played in the East, they might win 50 games. No joke. It's a totally different conference. The Western Conference right now, if you look at the West, there's too many teams. Too many teams. Way too many teams. And it goes deep. Oklahoma City 5-0. San Antonio with Wemby taking it to the next level. They're 4-0. Golden State's a problem. Denver's got Jokic. You've got Portland there. Memphis is a problem. The Lakers got Luka. Houston, the Clippers, Minnesota, Dallas. I mean, there are so many good teams. I don't know. It's always hard to say because I've been watching the NBA for so long, but I don't recall off the top of my head another year where you had the Western Conference quite this deep from top down, because you only really have right now 3 teams that you can look at and say they're probably going to struggle. Sacramento, Phoenix, New Orleans. And then Utah, which you would expect to be a tank squad. So really, 4 teams. But the rest of those teams, Dallas, Minnesota, Houston, the Clippers, Lakers, Memphis, Portland, Denver, Golden State, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City, they're all going to be, jockeying for position. That's pretty much how that's going to go down. Very interesting, though. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620 if you want to jump on board. I would be happy to take a phone call from you. What do you think about the way the Blazers are playing right now? Ducks have a bye week. Oregon State will host Washington State. Coming off a bye, and the Beavs have got a guy with experience now who will lead them the rest of the way in Coach Akey. And Alex Brink was very complimentary of Coach Akey, the guy who was his defensive coordinator when Brink was playing quarterback. All right, so we'll keep things rolling. Jump on board, 503-248-0620. This song here has been streamed over 1 billion times on Spotify. The only number 1 hit from Toto.
I love how you got that in the chamber ready to roll, Chad.
I'm just telling you, just little random tidbits that no one cares about. We'll come back. Justin Ballinger coming up at 4:20 to look at the NFL card. He's the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino. You got the Rip City Drive. Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. The Trailblazers are now 3-2. They took out the Jazz last night, 136-134 in Salt Lake City. Big nights for Drew Holiday and Denny Avdia. Shaden Sharp, 4 of 8 from downtown. Portland returns home. They'll take on the Nuggets tomorrow night at Moda Center. Tip-off at 7. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day at 5, and it's all here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Each and every Trailblazer game streams live on our free iHeartRadio app. We'll talk with Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, coming up at 5. Thursday Night Football on Prime from Miami. The Ravens are a 7.5-point favorite over the Dolphins. Oregon has a bye this week at Oregon State. Will host Washington State at 4:30. Pregame will be at 2:30 on your home of the Beavs, 1190 KX. And we have World Series Game 6 tomorrow from Toronto. First pitch at 5 on Fox. The Blue Jays now 1 win away from a world championship. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, I want to give a quick shout-out to a good friend of mine and someone that listens to the program, Daniel in Gresham. He's a good guy, and I really like him a lot, and I've had a chance to establish a friendship with him over the years. And he called me up today, and it was one of those phone calls where he was in tears. And right away I was taken back. You ever gotten a phone call where someone's in tears and you know right away something's going on? And he had called me to let me know that his 5-year-old dog Kobe passed away today. And what had happened is, from what he explained to me, is that he had taken Kobe to the doggy daycare and was at work, and then got a phone call that Kobe had a seizure and they had to take him to the emergency room. And by the time Daniel had gotten there, he passed away. He had had a heart attack and died. And, Kobe, I remember talking to Daniel when he first got Kobe, and we were talking about, how cool dogs are and, the type of companions they are and the type of friendship and unconditional love they bring to your life, how awesome they are. And Kobe, so I got to see, pictures of him when he was young, and then Daniel would tell me stories about Kobe as he, continued to grow, and they became, best friends, like most owners experience with their dogs. The companionship, the friendship, the way that they're always there for you when you need them, through good times and through bad, the way that they're loyal to a fault. No matter what's going on, they're always there for you. They're always happy to see you when you get home. They can't wait to go on their walks. They can't wait for the treats, the whole deal. And so, I felt bad for Daniel. My heart was breaking for him. And this is what I hate about pets, right? Especially a good companion and a good friend like a dog, is that you find one, you fall in love with them, and they become, your buddy, and then they die before you do. And I hate that. They shouldn't be allowed to do that, for crying out loud. So, Daniel, I'm thinking about you, buddy, and I'm sorry about your loss of Kobe. Good dog, beautiful dog, and I know your heart's breaking right now, my man. But just focus on the memories and all the good times you got to spend with Kobe over the last 5 years. But I hate seeing those posts. I see them on social media all the time. Where people have to say goodbye to one of their furry little friends. The absolute worst. We're going to talk with Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, coming up at 4:20. I'm down here for the 30th anniversary drawings that they've been doing each and every day throughout the entire month, and tonight is the culmination where they've got the $3 million Crack the Code prize vault coming up at 8:15. So all 30 of the daily top prize winners will have a chance to crack the code for $3 million. Not bad. And I hope someone wins it, because that would be freaking awesome. So I hope I get a chance to see that. And we'll talk about the NFL card with Justin, get his take on some of the matchups and very intriguing games. Oh, by the way, I may have mentioned this, but I do have, you know how college football, they have the rankings that come out every week, both the coaches and the AP poll. And then a lot of people do like NFL power rankings every week after every Sunday and Monday Night Football. You come out with your power rankings. Well, I have the same type of system with my children. And so I adjust rankings accordingly based on performance. And so it's a fluid situation. And I have made another adjustment based on things that have gone down. So currently, my son Isaac, and this is really big for him, he is in the number 1 slot. He is in the hot seat at number 1. He is undisputed number 1 right now. Now, last night, Puppy Shots was making a strong play for number 3. In fact, he moved into the 3 hole based on really poor performance. He did not have game control over last night. The up and the down, he went outside and barked too much. I had to go outside and get him in the middle of the night. He disturbed me and woke me up so I could get him a drink. My dog is not someone that you can set a bowl of water on the floor or have a cup of water for him on the floor. He won't drink that. He wants you to get up and run fresh water out of the sink and then put it on the floor for him. So I had to get up and do that. And then he's got some itchies, so, he's jingling around. He ruined my whole night of sleep. It destroyed it, absolutely blew it up. So no thanks to Puppy Shots. I woke up in a bad mood because he screwed me over last night. Too much. The barking, out of control. Not a surprise you're a dachshund. IQ level, not the highest. Not a surprise you're a dachshund. But the up and down and then asking me to get you a drink out of the faucet when you had a perfectly good bowl of water on the floor is unacceptable. The drink alone would be okay, but not in combination with the other nonsense. So that moved him to number 3, and Kaylee kind of slid into number 2 until I got another email of the negative balance on the lunch account that is basically a fund for her friends at school. So I plugged in another $100 today into the lunch account at school because she's using it as a fund to supply her kids with all the things they're not allowed to have at home. And it's like, hey, the money doesn't grow on trees, honey, but yet I keep funding it. And I ask her, like, what are you doing? Because you take lunch to school, but yet you're charging dollars to your account every day. Well, Dad, sometimes Brenna or, sometimes Siema, they need drinks. Well, but don't they have parents? Better yet, don't they have food they can bring from home? Well, yes, Dad, but, the mom and dad, they don't want them to have soda, so sometimes, they use my number, and I don't even know about it. I'm not sure I buy that whole routine. So anyways, I am supplying other kids soda pop at school, and therefore I continue to get these negative balance notices from the school, and I've got to plug in the account. So that email alone, it saved Puppy Shots from the 3 hole. It moved Kaylee into number 3. So right now the current rankings, the hot seat, the power rankings of children, Isaac 1, amazing. Number 2 would be Puppy Shots, even though he does not deserve it, but he gets in by technicality. And then Kaylee, based on the email I got, having to plug in another $100, she's in the 3 hole. So current rankings, Isaac, followed by Shots, followed by Kaylee. And there you have it. That's the latest kid power rankings for me. And I'm glad I could update that for you. It's very fluid. It could change. By the time I get off work and get home, it could change again. By the time I wake up, I have no idea what Puppy Shots has got planned for me tonight, but I'm sure he's got something in store. And the dachshunds is like, I even asked the Echo Dot, I'm like, what is the intelligence level of the dachshund? And it came on and said, dachshunds are considered moderately intelligent. So I let Puppy Shots know, you're moderately intelligent, and you're killing me right now. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him. It's not a big deal. It's like, what does he care? All right, Ravens, Dolphins coming up here at 5:15. That's the Thursday night game. There are a couple of college games, but nothing of note. And then, of course, Oregon is on bye this weekend, so nothing big time coming up, in terms of must-see games that we see right now. There's a couple of intriguing matchups. I want to see how Texas, how they perform against Vanderbilt at home. And they've survived a couple of miracle games against Kentucky and Mississippi State. Can they finally get, a little bit more rolling offensively? I want to check that out. And then I am interested in that Texas Tech, only one loss in year at Arizona State. Texas Tech -7.5 at Kansas State. That's a very good, underrated football game in the Big 12. And then as far as everything else goes, I just love what I'm seeing across the board in terms of the competitiveness and how it's wide open when it comes to a national championship. I mean, you can't look at one team and say that is definitely, without question, the team to beat. Like, it's just not there. So just to give you a little preview, I was looking at this today, But if the playoffs, and I'm just going to go with the AP poll. We'll go with the AP poll because it really doesn't matter. But if you look at the AP rankings based on where teams are slotted right now, this would be your playoff setup. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Bama would have the byes, your top 4 teams. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, and Bama. Your top 4 get byes. In your first-round matchups, which I think are on December 19th and 20th, number 12, Memphis against Georgia, Memphis being the group of 5. Number 9, Vanderbilt, who's playing at Texas this weekend, taking on number 8, Georgia Tech, who's played great football this year. Your number 11 team's either going to be BYU or Miami. They would be at number 6, Oregon. And then either BYU or Miami at Ole Miss. And how great would that be? And then Oregon would be set up on the side of the bracket with Indiana so they could get a rematch. So right now the way it would be set up, if Oregon won, they would advance and take on A&M, and then that would set up a potential matchup with Indiana in the semifinals. How good would that be? And can you imagine for just a moment, these on-campus games in the playoffs are so good, but imagine for just a moment that you get Miami at Oregon in the first round. Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes rolling into Autzen. Like, sign me up for that tomorrow. I need that in my life. You need that in your life. That'd be awesome. So, again, just another perfect example of what the playoff is giving us and what the expanded playoff, when it goes to 16 teams, is going to give us. It's going to be total greatness, and I love everything about it. Man, it's so good. So good. Tony in Portland has chimed in. My son would do the same thing. He was buying less fortunate classmates chips, sodas, and cookies. That's what I'm talking about. And the problem is that my ass is on the line for this, right? So she's doing things that's going to put me in the crosshairs with other parents if they find out. And so I'm just washing my hands of it. It's like, look, I don't approve. I don't want to know about it. Just you do you and find a way. Just get good grades, and I can live with the rest. Just continue to keep up your grade point average right now, but I'm washing my hands of this. I don't want to know what you're buying for your friends. I'm going to stop asking. Yep. Less fortunate classmates. Now, by less fortunate, does that mean that they were less fortunate because their parents would not allow them to have the tasty snacks? I just remember when I was in school, the stuff we had access to buy, not exactly the best diet. Get loaded up on sugar and grease right before you jump back into a classroom. And then the teachers are concerned at, the behavior. My man Brendan, you got a thought? Which do you have a thought on?
No, I'm fascinated by this conversation, Chad, because it's been a minute since your boy was in school, and first of all, I got to ask, so they have soda back at school now. I only am curious because when I was in middle school and high school, that was the anti-soda tirade going on by, I believe it was Michelle Obama at the time, and it was make school lunches healthy and all those things. So we never had soda in schools. You had to go off campus to like Taco Bell and get something like that. So that's kind of
has there ever been a healthy school lunch? I've never seen one in my lifetime, or at least when I was in school, but I don't know what they're doing at the public schools now. My daughter goes to a private school.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So they may have access to items at her school that they don't at the public schools. I'm not sure. I don't remember with Isaac. Yeah. I mean, if I could have access to a Diet Coke here and there, a delicious beverage.
Absolutely.
But they did. When I was in school, though, they had a pop machine. That was back when they were like 50 cents or whatever. For a soda.
Yeah, I remember at our student store, Chad, just to show how obscure this was, and you'll remember this. Most people don't even know what I think about when I say this now. They sold us Tab. We could have Tab soda at school. That's what I recall was there before it now is, discontinued for the odd soda that it was. So go figure, right?
Yeah. No, the only thing, every time I hear the word Tab, I think of Back to the Future. Yeah, I'll take a Tab.
It's true.
I can't give you a Tab until you order something. Now I can't remember, is it just a cola beverage or does it taste like Dr. Pepper?
I don't even know if I could tell you what it tasted like. Like it was like when you're in middle school or whatever, you were like, oh, it's a soda. It's made by Coca-Cola. It's got to be cool to have at school. And then you'd have one, you'd be like, oh, like not really all that great. So, hey, it's definitely interesting. I found that pretty entertaining.
All right. And then I just got a message from the 503. It says, call me on this. I have no idea what you're talking about. Call you on what? the playoff format and where Oregon would shake out in the first round against Miami, school lunches, or my daughter supplying her friends with the goodies that they want. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Coming up next, we'll dive into the NFL card this weekend. Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, is going to join the program. And then we'll talk with Dave Deckard at 5. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Rip City Drive. I'm live here at Spirit Mountain Casino getting ready for the grand finale of the 30th anniversary drawings, which is coming up tonight, which is going to end with the $3 million Crack the Code prize vault. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm always happy when this man takes time to join me. I'm talking about the sportsbook manager, Justin Ballinger, who is with me. We have so many great things to talk about in regard to football this weekend, but we got to start with this because you and I both have interest in the LA Dodgers. You're an Orange County guy. You grew up being a Dodger fan. I am distraught over what I've seen over the last couple of games. I thought after that 18-inning classic in Game 3, Justin, that at the very least the Dodgers would go back to Toronto with a 3-2 series lead with Yamo getting on the bump for Game 6. And instead Toronto showed steel balls in their bounce back, getting 2 straight games. And I feel like our biggest fears are coming true. You get the Dodgers starter out of the game, and you have to lean on their bullpen, and then we see what happens. It's Trine and it's somebody else, and Toronto's been taking advantage of that. It's not good.
No, every single guy out of the bullpen, too. You know, it's confidence is at an all-time low in that regard, and then – you know, the bats have not been awake the entire playoffs, minus that Cincinnati Red series.
Yes.
And the pitching was so good and so dominant where it just completely masked the batting issues they were having. And now that the pitching's come back to earth, I mean, you think about like a Toronto putting up 6 runs, that's a good amount of runs. But for this Dodgers lineup, that shouldn't be something that they can't overcome. I mean, they're not even getting close to scoring 6 runs in a game right now. It's just, you know.
I thought Snell last night, aside from the 2 early solo blasts, he did a really good job. But the problem is when you don't have run support, those 2 homers kill you early.
Yeah. Right out the gate. And, you know, while that's demoralizing, you know, you still have 9 innings to scrape 3 runs together. And I thought he composed himself pretty good, you know, for a big chunk of the game after that.
Yeah.
But it's just the way, you know, the offense is struggling, it's too much to overcome, apparently.
Okay, let's have some real talk right now. It feels like an impossibility for this team right now, as it is, to go and win back-to-back games in Toronto.
Yes, I don't have a great feeling about it at all.
But here's my reason for optimism. So you got Yamo going to Game 6. Mm-hmm. He's been unbelievable. He's been awesome.
Crazy.
So if you get through Game 6 and you make it a one-game situation, let's say Yamo goes out and has another complete game and the Dodgers win a tight one, maybe that provides a little more time for some of those bats in the lineup to get going.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be what the game plan is at this point.
Yeah.
You can't I don't think you can confidently go into Toronto thinking you're going to win both games 2-0 or 2-1.
Yeah.
The way Toronto's hitting, they're going to have to win the game with their offense, you'd think, at least one of the 2 remaining games.
And what sucks is if they don't win the series, then we can't talk about that Game 3 forever and how great Will Klein was, or the clutch moment for Kershaw where he got out of that jam in the 12th. Like, no one wants to remember those moments because you lost the series.
Right. I know. All that, Freddie with another, walk-off home run in the postseason.
Yes.
It just, it'd be an unfortunate way to end, but, that's why they play the game.
I still can't believe how brain dead the Braves are. You have Freddie Freeman and you let him walk? Are you kidding me?
No, every day
Unbelievable.
I think about it. It's like, how is this guy a Dodger? It's fantastic.
So I'm really distraught, but hopefully Yamo can put together one more gym and give them a chance in Game 7. Okay, so the NFL card this weekend is awesome. And last weekend was one of those very rare moments that you have in an NFL season where the public got theirs. I think favorites went 10-2 against the spread, which is amazing. And I think there was only one game that was a single-score game. Everything else was like double-digit madness. We're talking about dominance. That is a rarity. So what I feel like this week in general, when I look at the card, I feel like people are walking into traps, and I feel like it's going to be a bounce-back weekend for the books. What's your overall take on that?
Yeah, it is a giant pendulum. It swings one way or the other throughout the entire season, and a lot of times when you do have one of those, big weeks, and it happens for the books as well when you have, a non-public week, it does seem to have a little bit of that swing back the following week.
Yes.
And, as we were talking about earlier, you look at the slate this weekend, and there are multiple games that just feel like, well, that team should obviously cover that point spread.
Yes.
And when it looks that obvious, that's when you really start thinking like it might be a it might be a good week for the books.
Yeah.
Just from the way it's starting out, at least.
What game last week, or what are a couple of games that you guys took it in the chin on? Every 7-point favorite, I think, except the Atlanta Falcons. Which hurts because you see those 7-point spreads. You got teasers. Yes.
Tied into that, you have the money line parlays. Yes. A lot of people will just buy the half point, get it to 6.5. So we took plenty of action on all those games. And like I said, I think besides the Falcons, every single one of those big favorites, covered and ran away with it.
I didn't even think about that, but I would assume that on weekends, the rare weekends where you get all these big favorites covering, like we saw last weekend, you're right, the teasers come into play, so you guys get hit on that. But then all the people that do their parlays, right?
Right.
They're 4-teamers, they're 3-teamers.
Right.
A lot of those are hitting because the favorites are getting the job done.
Yeah. And, like I said, that's part of the season. And, again, too, if the sportsbooks win every week, no one has any money to bet. So, it's not like we're sitting here
you want the
for
public
that
to win
either.
from time to time.
Exactly. So, it's good week for those kind of bets.
Okay, let's walk through a couple of these games. First off, Thursday Night Football, Ravens at the Dolphins. What is the current line right now? 7.5?
7.5.
Ravens are favored by 7.5. Dolphins are coming off a very sharp 7-point dog road cover and win at Atlanta, which was impressive. The Ravens, hard to get a read on them right now because we think they might be close to being back. They've been ravaged by injuries, but based on the line and the number, it looks like Lamar Jackson is going to be a go tonight. I'm just not sure if I'm ready to buy into the Ravens as a 7.5-point road favorite based on the issues that they've had. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, it's tough. It's there's so much uncertainty. What Lamar are we going to see?
Yes.
And for me, it was like, well, if he couldn't play Sunday, now it's a short week.
Yes.
Is he full 100%? Are they just putting him out there because they know they can't lose any more games if they want a shot at the playoffs? So I'll be very, very curious to see what type of Lamar Jackson we get. I'm also, the other thing I'm kind of hesitant to jump fully back on board with the Ravens about is they had the much better defensive performance last week. It was coming off a bye, though. They had 2 weeks to plan for Caleb Williams there. And not to take anything away, but, a lot of times with the bye, 2 weeks going into one game, you might see a better product in that one game than what you'd see going forward.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the bye week and the impact it can have on a player. I looked it up. I think since 2020, Sam Darnold is averaging about 27.5 points coming off of a bye week. And this goes back to Darnold before he was great with Minnesota, right? So It just goes to show you that extra week of preparation, the time to get ready for a game plan. You come up with different wrinkles and packages that can attack an opponent. It's things like that pop up.
Right. And Harbaugh, no slouch of a coach, either. So
he's a terrific
coach.
Them
ready, yeah.
Okay, this one here looks like one of those ones where you could be walking into a minefield. Chicago -3 on the road at Cincinnati. Now, the Bengals have multiple injury concerns, including at quarterback, but this is a tough one to call. Like, I would not feel comfortable laying 3 points with Chicago on the road against Cincy.
No, it's a really weird one. And, this is one of the ones this week where, my gut immediately jumps to, well, the Bears should cover, and then you start thinking about it, and it's like, God, the Bears they have so many, I don't know if they've played a fully clean game this year.
I agree.
A lot of their wins, they had the back-to-back 1-point wins against the Raiders and Commanders, I believe.
Yes.
And it's just like, it just wasn't clean. No, it's a good win. I don't think Chicago's there yet with Ben Johnson and Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
They're still a work in progress. Okay, this one here is a game that I love, and I hate it because I'm a Bronco fan. But the Broncos, 5 straight wins. They're coming off the 44-point performance against Dallas. They're on the road at Houston, and the Texans have been feast or famine this year. Last week they figured it out, had a good game plan. We saw the short passing game and the running game provide balance in the offense, and they had that 10-minute drive to open up the game, and they were on the field. Their defense only had 44 snaps on the field because of the way their offense dominated the clock, which was impressive. But the Broncos, I think this opened up the Denver is around a 1.5-point favorite, but now it's shifted to where Houston is now the favorite by a point and a half. What's the latest line you have here at Spirit Mountain?
Yeah, right now Houston is the favorite, 1.5 points. I did also just get a fantasy update a little while ago. I guess Nico Collins will be back for the Texans, so he's a go.
That's huge.
And you might have mentioned that Surtain is out
for a few weeks. And Christian Kirk, I think, is going to be back in their lineup too.
Okay, and they had just got the passing game going with all those other guys.
Exactly. So here's why I love Houston in this situation. One, as good as the Broncos defense is, and it's good. In fact, they've got 36 sacks through 8 games, which is insane. I think the Texans' defense is better in terms of what they have pass rush-wise and in the secondary. They've been a dominant defensive force. They were great against the 49ers. But now with Denver, they no Surtain. They go man more than 50% of the time. It's by far the most in the NFL. You know that they're going to have to change up their coverages now without Surtain on the field, and they're going to go with Chris Abrams Drain, and they got some other guys. But they may have to play a little more zone. That's going to play into the hands of the Texans. And as good as Bo Nix has been in the last 5 quarters against the Giants and the Cowboys, I'm not sold on their offense being a high-functioning unit yet, and that's where I think the Texans, with the pass rush and the pressure they can put on Nix, we're going to see a lower-scoring game. I think it's the lowest total in the league in the league this week at what, like 39?
Yeah, we're at 40 right now, and that is the lowest.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I like the Texans in a close ball game because of that defense, which is sometimes good enough to almost win games by themselves. So what do you see here?
Yeah, and it's really similar. Last week the Texans were at home. They played the Niners in that game, and they were small favorites over the Niners. And I'm kind of viewing it in similar light, where again, my gut immediately says, "Oh, Broncos should win this game." Then I start thinking about it, and like you said, without Surtain, the way that the Texans are going to be able to, now they have apparently 5 receivers that are seemingly part of the offense, the way they're going to be able to move them around and get after the Denver secondary. The run game's picking up a little bit with Woody Marks, and they're getting him some balls thrown out of the backfield as well. I think the Texans are starting to come around and click. Preseason, they were still the favorite, to win the division, and I think we got so sidetracked by the Colts' success and the Jaguars, when they beat the Chiefs. And Texans are, I think, now after their bye, they're kind of reminding everyone, like, hey, you forgot about us. And it seems like each week they're getting better. Yeah,
and Stroud last week, 30 of 39 passing. I thought he was really on point. Now, the next game that I have great interest in, Steelers at home, coming off the loss to Green Bay on Sunday night. They're hosting the Colts, who have been the hottest team in the league, and their offense has been unstoppable. They're a juggernaut, and I feel like teams, you and I were talking about this, I feel like people have missed out on the Colts train so far this year because it's that Daniel Jones hesitant moment where you're like, I can't do it, and yet they continue to roll and play big. But here's the number I love on this. It's a Mike Tomlin situation. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, 24-12-2 against the spread in games following a surrender of 35 or more points. We saw that against Green Bay in their previous game, including a perfect 9-0 against the spread at home after a loss. So this feels like a great dog situation for Tomlin. You're getting good value with the number at 3.5. I feel like this is the weekend where the Steelers get the job done and beat the Colts. And as great as the Colts are, we know one thing. No team's going to go 15-2 throughout the course of the year against the spread. It's unlikely that takes place, even though Indy's playing great ball.
Of course, yeah. That's just a crazy thing to ask. But like you said, Daniel Jones is still he hasn't slowed down, and I think we haven't necessarily seen as much Colts money as you'd think this year because there is that mental block. We watched this guy play for 4, 5, 6 seasons with the Giants or as a backup last year with the Vikings, and it's we thought he was broken, and he just didn't have it. And credit to Shane Steichen, he's an amazing quarterback coach, and he's he found. I think he got his guy and saw what offense they could run that would maximize his strengths, and they're doing that completely. On the other side, though, Tomlin's a fantastic coach, and I like that little stat you gave up. And I know the way that their defense has been playing this year, he's just got to be, blood boiling every night when he's going to bed. So, it's you hate to keep every week, you go into it expecting the change to happen, but it's, if you're a Steeler fan, it's got to happen soon defensively, or, and what better time than this week?
We're talking with Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino. The big game of the weekend, of course, Bills and Chiefs, which is going to have dramatic implications on the AFC playoff picture. You and I both know that. Kansas City's a short favorite on the road, -2. It feels to me like this could be a game where the sharps are split on the way they think this is going to go down. I know that Kansas City's playing better football right now. Josh Allen was hot early, but now he's still trying to find his way. I don't trust the Bills' defense, but I'm not really sure what to make of this game because it's such a titanic matchup. What are you seeing with the movement, and what's your take here?
Yeah, so far it's been pretty 50-50 for us. I think everyone seems to be squarely on one side or the other. But the narrative so far has been right. The Bills win in the regular season, the Chiefs win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think after the Bills lost their 4th playoff game to the Chiefs last year, they probably circled this game immediately.
Yes.
When the schedule came out, it's at home, it's in Buffalo. Just the Chiefs, though, the last 3-4 weeks, and now with Rice back, they seem to be clicking like they were right in the prime of all their Super Bowl runs. And so we'll see, because if you had asked me this 5 weeks ago, I would have thought the Bills they might even be more than a field goal favorite the way that the two teams were playing. And now it's all of a sudden, Bills are number 2 again. They're back in their secondary role here to the Chiefs. But I don't know. I'm wondering what the players and coaches think. They've got to have that fire to beat these guys somewhere down in there,
That's great. Anything else on the NFL card that's jumped out at you? Any oddities, any line movements, any money movements that you see that interest you outside of the games we talked about?
One game that is just, to me, sticks out is that 49ers-Giants game.
Yes.
When the line opened, if I asked you right now, what would the Niners be favored over the Giants? You'd think probably 5, 6, 7
I would think
points.
5, 6, or 7.
Right, exactly. And, Cam Scatterboot going down.
Yes.
How demoralizing for the Giants that must be. Niners are only 2.5-point favorite. So that's another one of those games that, at least for me, when I see that, it's like I can't jump to conclusions that there's something weird here.
Yes.
I need to figure out what it is.
Because when you look at the game, you're like, of course the 49ers are going to cover 2.5.
Right.
The
Seems
two
so
games
easy.
that scare me the most, and it's a stinky game, and I guess you'd have to hold your nose and do it, but I like the Raiders at home getting 3 points against the Jags.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly on the basis of what you just talked about. Everything tells you to take the Jags in that situation.
Right, absolutely.
But I'm not going to trust Trevor Lawrence and that Jags team on the road against the Raiders. I just feel like that's one of those games you're walking into a trap, and I feel like the book's trying to lure you in with some of these easy numbers.
Yeah, yes, I agree completely. Both those games, and then the that Bears-Bengals game that we touched on. Those are the 3 this week where you just
tread lightly.
You think the favorite should be, 3 or 4 more,
Yes.
3 or 4 more points favored
Yes.
than they currently are. But there's might be a reason behind it.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of those weekends where the public's sitting back going, how can the 49ers not and the Jags and the freaking Bears not cover that short number? Like, how's that even possible?
Exactly.
Okay, college football. Anything that's jumped out at you on the college board this week?
For us, Oregon's on a bye, so it's been pretty quiet here at Spirit Mountain for college. We do have the
you guys get a lot of movement on Oregon, don't you, down here?
We do, yeah. I mean, they're, the breadwinner, I guess you'd say, of bets each week for the most part. Now, I mean, last week was a little different with the weather and everything with the Wisconsin game, so it wasn't, your normal bet Oregon game, but there's more to come. We do have our Washington State, Oregon State, the first game of the Pac-12 officially this season. So
that's right.
We'll,
Pac-12 championship on the line,
exactly.
baby.
Actually, I noticed they're playing 2 times this year, so I guess.
Well, the interesting part in this game, I was talking with Alex Brink, former Coug, and he said that. So Rob Akey, who is now the interim head coach at Oregon State, he was the defensive coordinator with the Cougs when Brink was playing quarterback there, and he said. He praised Akey and how good he is, and he's got a lot of experience. So he said it's kind of an unknown because they've had a bye week, and so you're not quite sure what type of wrinkles he's going to have in that game plan, and they could catch Washington State off guard. So he said it's kind of a concerning game from that standpoint.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic here of the strange lines, I believe Washington State opened at just 3.5-point favorite, which is, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this another trap?
Yeah, because you look at that and you're like, yeah, I've seen Oregon State play. They're terrible.
Right. Washington State almost beat Mississippi.
And then they almost won at Virginia.
And then Virginia, yeah. And
that's how the public thinks.
Yes, so it's just another one, yes.
Okay, good. So Spirit Mountain Casino, the BetMGM Sportsbook, it's your place to bet on college sports. We got UFC, college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, college basketball, NHL. You've got everything down here.
Got everything.
Dude, I appreciate you, Justin.
I appreciate you.
So the moral of the story based on our conversation is be careful out there with some of the short favorites. It could be a bounce-back weekend for the books, so tread lightly and be smart with your wagering.
Absolutely. Take that message to heart.
Justin, you're the man. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you as well.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. We got much more coming up, including a conversation coming up at 5:20 where we'll dive into this Nuggets matchup tomorrow night at Moda Center. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. And also, a teacher, my man Brett, reached out to me. He wants to contribute to the conversation on school lunches and sodas, so we're going to do that next as well. You got the Rip City Drive. Now, we got into a discussion about school lunches, soda machines at school, and how my daughter is utilizing her account at her school to supply her friends with soda and other stuff they probably aren't allowed to have at home. And so my man Brett, who's been teaching now for many years, wanted to chime in on the subject. He goes, pick me. And I'm like, what a great guy to have on to talk about this. So, Brett, and now how many years is it? 30 years now? Close to 30? How many years in you got for teaching?
Well, you're rounding up 21.
Nice. 21 years in. All right, so I haven't been on a public school ground or been in school for a long time. Do they have soda machines at school?
Not at the elementary level, which is where I'm at. And it's my understanding a lot of middle schools and high schools do not have them as well. If they do have vending machines, it's more of like water, juices, and things of that nature.
Yeah, and, based on what we know about soda and large amounts of sugar, especially for the elementary age kids, I think that's probably a good deal. You don't need the soda machines there. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I would say what happens more is like kids rolling in with Starbucks or like Dutch Brothers, which to me is weird that a fifth grader would get that. And we have rules that any drinks that are in the classroom in their water bottles stay by the sink because kids spill. And they have pretty much put the kibosh on kids bringing like coffee drinks and stuff like that. If they do, they have to save it for lunchtime and eat it in the cafeteria.
That's pretty funny. My mom, especially when I was in elementary school, she would have never allowed me to have a Starbucks or a Dutch Brothers beverage. There's no way that was going to happen.
Yeah. I didn't
what about
until I was in college.
Yeah, I didn't start drinking coffee until I was a little bit older. What do you think about my daughter supplying her friends with beverages and probably snacks that their parents don't want them to have?
Well, I'm sure it's you supporting that because you're where the money comes from, right?
Yes. Yep, I'm the money
So
source.
it's you. So
Yeah.
Congratulations. Gee, big bucks, Chad.
I'm telling you. So what do school lunches look like these days? Like, what do they normally have?
Can I say ass on the radio? I just did.
So it's as bad as I remember.
Here's what I will say. Unfortunately, there are plenty of kids that eat all or most of their meals at school, so at least they get fed. But they do offer, fruit and vegetable, usually 2 different entrees. So kids are definitely get fed. It's probably not the best in the world, but it's also not the worst.
Well, that's good to know. And you're right, man. My heart goes out for the kids who, aren't getting, the square meals at home or don't have access to food or have food insecurity. So at least the school's able to provide and feed them, which is a good thing.
I totally agree. It's better than going hungry.
Yeah, I was wondering, too, like I remember I had a teacher once that, before the class would begin, we would do a little lap, like a little jog around the building in which the classroom was at. And it took like 5 minutes, but she did it to get our blood pumping and get the oxygen flowing and stuff like that because she felt like it would help us be more alert in the class, which I thought was genius. But I would imagine kids who are, fed properly or don't have an empty stomach, they're probably better in the classroom for you, I would guess.
Yeah, that helps. We have to also deal with probably kids not having the best sleep. They're probably up at night on their screens. So we deal with fatigue. There's since you and I were in school, it's changed a lot. A lot of that depends on what school district you're in also. So yeah, there's a lot that certain kids have working against them. So that's why we need super good, creative teachers to help these kids.
No doubt. What is the school rule for the kids that have cell phones? Like, how do you deal with screens and phones and that stuff?
Well, it's a state law now. But as you might imagine, different levels of schools are enforcing that more. At our school, if they have a phone, they turn it in as they walk in. It's secured all throughout the day, and they get it at the end. I don't have any students that do that. I'm sure they have them in their backpacks, but if they're in their backpacks and I never see or hear it, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the different things you have to compete with now as a teacher to be able to get the attention that's necessary to be able to teach and for learning, right? It's tough.
It is, but after 21 years, you get some tips and tricks that work. I don't know everything, but I know enough. Now, again, at the middle school and high school level, I guarantee you there's kids that have their phones that have them out, and there's teachers that probably don't want to fight that fight and maybe turn a blind eye. You know, a lot of that comes from teachers, their personality, and how they manage a classroom. So it differs.
And then what do you do for lunch? Do you take your own lunch or do you partake in the school lunch? How do you handle that as a teacher?
Oh, I bring my own lunch. Absolutely bring my own lunch. Again, some of those things in there don't look that appealing to me, and
Yeah.
I would have to pay too for a lunch. The kids don't, but staff has to pay. So I bring my own lunch every day.
That's awesome. Well, Brett, I appreciate you chiming in, dude, to give us a little update on the school lunch situation. You're the man.
Yeah, you reach out anytime you need school stuff. And, you know, if you want to talk girls 6A state playoffs, hey, Barlow's got a huge game, home game this Saturday. We're in the top half of the bracket, dude.
Dude, congrats, man. That's awesome, dude. How much fun are you having watching that team this year?
Well, when your daughter's on it, it's just about my favorite thing to do. I'm sure you got a lot of people turning off their radio right now as we bring up, you know, high school soccer, but it's on the forefront of my mind for sure.
Well, that's great, buddy. Well, hey, we'll catch up soon, man. My man Brett giving us a little detail. We'll come back, and when we do, we'll be joined by Dave Deckard, the man behind BlazersEdge.com, and we'll get his take on what he's seen from this team through 5 games. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Well, the Trailblazers now 3-2 as they topped the Jazz last night in Utah, 136-134. Big night for both Drew Holiday and Denny Avdia. Team at 34 assists. They're back home tomorrow night to host the Denver Nuggets at Moda Center. Tip-off at 7. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day at 5. Right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Every Trailblazers game streams live on our free iHeartRadio app. Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com is coming up next. Thursday Night Football on Prime coming up at 5:15 from Miami. The Ravens are a 7.5-point favorite over the Dolphins. Oregon's got a bye this weekend. Oregon State will host Washington State at 4:30 from Reeser. The pregame will start at 2:30 on your home of the Bees, 1190 KX. And the World Series now shifts back to Toronto for Game 6. Jays lead the series 3-2. They've won back-to-back games. First pitch at 5 on Fox. They're one game away from a World Championship. All right, I was happy to find out that my next guest is going to be in town next weekend, so we're going to have a chance to spend some time together when the Trailblazers take on the Thunder. He is the man behind BlazersEdge.com, and he's back on the show. Dave Deckard is here. Dave, my man, great to chat with you.
Yeah, it's an exciting new season so far. So 5 games in, and it looks like they're ready to play a new style, if not win a couple games, and that's something we haven't seen in a few years here.
Yeah, no doubt. In fact, a lot of people are talking about the new style with the pace and the renewed commitment and aggressiveness on defense. What's your overall take on what you've seen from the new style over 5 games?
Well, we talked about this a little bit today. It's really dependent on number of shots more than anything. They're not shooting a great percentage, and they're not defending great percentage-wise. But when you get a dozen more shots than your opponent, even if you only hit 3 or 4 of those, which almost any team can do, that's a huge advantage. I mean, you're going to edge your way into a few games there. So that's basically what the Blazers are doing. Get the ball in hand, go fast, get up the first open shot, create turnovers to limit the opponent from getting the same, and see what happens. And basically, the big difference is last year, you might remember, they were going to lose every game, and they hoped to get hot from 3 in order to win some. Now, this strategy so far, they've been more or less in every game, and if they get hot from 3, they're definitely going to win. That's a step up. Whether they can sustain it or not remains to be seen, but so far, so good.
Yeah, no question. Now, part of that new offense has been the play of Shaedon Sharpe. A lot of fans concerned over the first 4 games with the shooting slump that he was in, not making shots. He had a much better game, probably his best game of the year last night against Utah, 4 of 8 from downtown, and looked a lot more comfortable out there. What's your take on Shaedon's start to the season and his role in this new offense?
So we don't know yet because 5 games isn't indicative for anyone or anything. Players go through slumps that are twice as long as that. So we don't know if this is just a temporary thing or a permanent condition, so you got to give him some time. Also, I mean, he's doing basically what the Blazers want, which is if you've got the ball and you've got a shot, take it. Again, the way they generate that dozen extra shots is get the ball up. If they hold on to it, if they stall and they take more time, that doesn't happen. So it's a key to their success that he shoot and that he shoot frequently. If you're watching him take quick shots, that's actually part of the game plan. Now, hopefully, that also jives with his personal talent and ability, and the two come together, and he's able to hit a better percentage than he's hitting right now. But even if he's not shooting 50% from the floor, it's still better for the Blazers for him to get up those shots quickly than to hesitate or pass into turnovers or stall the ball.
All right, so what is your overall take on the defense? You mentioned that percentage-wise, not great, but what are you seeing defensively that may be a little bit different this year?
Well, I think that all the defenders have range of some sort. Obviously, the centers have the most limited range. They're effective mostly inside. But everyone around them has a big radius where they can cover the floor. And there are no real holes there, which makes it different. It used to be, you would go at, I don't even have to name the players, you know who they were. And you could go in their sphere and have a free shot. There are no free shots anymore. There are no free passes anymore, which means over this large radius around the team defense, everything the opponent does, they have to work for. That's not just causing overt turnovers. That's slowing them down. That's making them think. That's making them communicate and coordinate. And the more you slow them down, the more the Blazers' ability to go fast tells. So, basically you've got what for Portland's style is a really effective defense, even if lined up against the rest of the NBA in a traditional battle, it doesn't look as good percentage-wise.
I mean, Dave, when you were watching the game last night, what did you think led to that shaky fourth quarter where the Jazz went on the 34-14 run and nearly came all the way back from a 22-point deficit?
Well, honestly, I was on the road for the last of last night's game, so I didn't get to see it personally. But it's not hard to figure this out. Look, first of all, you have young team itis where they get ahead and they start cruising. Second of all, when the shots stop falling for Portland, they really stop. And there's a tendency to get sloppy, and if the Blazers get sloppy at all and the opponent turns around that turnover difference, the Blazers have no respite. They don't have a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They don't have a Giannis or a Luka or somebody they can just toss the ball to and let them score no matter what. They're dependent on synergy, on pace, on constant energy. And if those things aren't happening, they're going to go down quickly. Pretty much what I understand happened against the Jazz. I think Utah got a little bit hot. Portland didn't get back quickly enough. And, just a team pasted a run on them. Now, the good part about that is they had enough cushion to absorb it. But you can guarantee that if they play a decent team that way, they're going to end up losing that game instead of winning it.
We're talking to Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com here on the Rip City Drive. What are your thoughts thus far on Jrue Holiday?
Well, you got to love him and Jeremy Grant. They are the two veterans who are stepping up. Drew's always in the right place at the right time, basically on both sides of the ball. You always knew that was going to happen. The big question is, can he keep up his energy? Can he keep up his floor coverage for the requisite amount of minutes? It's not that he won't be able to play 30 or 32 minutes. Literally, can the energy and the speed keep up for that long at his age? So far, so good. It's early in the season. We'll see what happens around December, January, let alone March. But early returns are positive that he was a good addition to this team. I would say this, the thing to watch with Jrue and with the centers who are also kind of at the risk of going slower, how are the Blazers guarding the three-point arc? Are they closing out with as much energy as they patrol the middle of the floor? That's a guard responsibility, and, sometimes the Blazers don't do it as well. The other thing to watch, are the Blazers getting back in transition? That's more of a team-wide responsibility, but it's a sign that they are slowing down and faltering. So if they're at the arc and they're guarding in transition, I think everything else will take care of itself. Look at veterans like Jrue and Jeremy to see if they're slowing down. Look at the centers to see if they can do it at all. That's going to take your temperature on how well the Blazers are defending.
Yeah, you mentioned Grant. He's been terrific on the bench through 5 games. And it looks like, some of his points, like he's being more aggressive, closer to the basket, too, in the painted area. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing from him?
Yeah, exactly. It's partially what the Blazers want because part of this offense is driving down seams to hopefully either draw the defense and kick out or get one-on-one coverage and be able to score inside. That's Jeremy Grant's sweet spot. So it's not surprising that he's looking better. The aggressiveness, I think, has surprised me to the positive. I love to see that. Also, I think there's a devil-may-care attitude since he's coming off the bench. Hey, you can put me in the second unit. If I can't score big among these guys, when am I ever going to do it? And by the way, I am a scorer. I am a proven player. And here, I'm going to shove it in your face and show you. So, I think that's been a good move for him in terms of freeing him to be exactly who he is, which has certainly helped his game.
Well, tomorrow night's going to be a good test. I really thought Denver during the summertime did a good job of, adding depth and kind of retooling that bench, to give their starters some help. And then you got Aaron Gordon, who continues to emerge. But, Denver looks, really strong early in the season.
Yeah, and the problem that Denver presents is not just Jokic, although that's a huge one. But note that Portland centers tend to get in foul trouble and also, as we said, can't really cover the perimeter that well, which doesn't spell happy time for their standard lineup. The way they've been compensating for that is going small ball, and it's been working because they can rebound and they can keep the opposing center in check. I don't know that a 6'9" guy is going to keep Jokic in check in any way. I don't know that Portland's power forwards can even guard Aaron Gordon. So that big, skilled lineup of Denver might create some problems for Portland that they haven't solved yet. Who knows? Maybe the Blazers do manage to run them out of the building, but if not, boy, that's going to be a hard game to win in the half court.
See, that's the problem with Jokic and why he's so unique, right? Because, Klingon's got the size, but if you get him away from the basket, when, Jokic is out there playing like a guard and running the pick and roll, like it can put some big men in a very compromised position. We've seen it do it to a number of guys.
Yeah, exactly. And Young Hansen, isn't ready quite yet. I think he's shown that. There have been some good moments, but you can't put him out there for 15 minutes, let alone 30. So we're kind of still in a developmental stage with the centers. I think Klingon's been really, really good, but that's because the Blazers have been able to keep him where he's strong. Jokic won't let you do that, and neither will Aaron Gordon, by the way. The Nuggets will pull you out and pick you to death. They will also shoot over you. Both of those spell trouble for Portland, so hey, as you say, this is a big test. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one they can't match yet. But you know what? Realistically, what are they trying to do? Make the play-in and fight credibly there, get to the playoffs if they can. Your ability to beat Denver in October is not indicative of that. So at least, it's not going to ruin the season if they don't show up well.
What I'm wondering, too, with the number of turnovers that they're generating, could that be kind of a pathway to help them generate some offense on nights when they don't have the shooting going?
Of course, that's exactly how they're doing it. That's where a lot of those extra shots are coming from. The problem is, of course, if you get a team that won't commit them, either because they have a dominant star who can just score no matter who you put on him, and so he doesn't have to pass the ball, or you've got three-point shooters aplenty who can really spread the floor and hit every shot, which means if your defense is moving, A, you tire out, and B, you can't get to the ball because it moves too quick and too far out on the floor. Those kind of teams will probably foil Portland's plans. Now, here's the thing. As you've just identified, the Blazers don't have a great plan B. They don't have a safety net. They're walking a tightrope every night. They've been doing it pretty well, but if it doesn't work, as we saw against Utah, you fall flat on your face. The Blazers are going to run up against good teams who are going to do that to them. How they rebound from that in their next game or in their next week will show more to me on whether they win or lose those games. You don't expect to win everyone at this point. Just don't let one or two losses become 8 or 10.
Yeah, and one other thought. Denny Avdia continues to be one of the great bargains in the NBA. I'm having fun watching him play, Dave.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think he is still settling in, and the Shaedon Sharpe thing that people are noticing is part of that settling in process. I want to see how the two of them develop synergy, because right now Denny is best with the ball. Shaedon really operates only with the ball. And then you got Drew Holiday, who's also very, very good, probably better than either with the ball, right? So you got three guys who need to settle together. I think Drew will fit in no matter what. I think Shaedon will be an end point, and he's fine. Kind of the variable there. And is he able to flourish and have his teammates flourish around him? That's the big question.
Oh, one other question. How do you think this new offense might suit Scoot Henderson when he returns?
Well, it depends. I think it's set up exactly for him because what do? There's not a lot of picks. You don't take the outside shot on your own. Instead, you drive and try to make something happen and then kick out if you need to. That's literally what Scoot Henderson feasts on. But the thing we just mentioned with Denny and Shaden and Drew, that's already a triangle, is trying to figure out how to have a relationship. Having a fourth guy in there adds another layer of complication. And Scoot is not as veteran as Drew is and not as able to accommodate others while still getting his own. So I think they will have to resolve that chemistry issue in spades, whereas right now they're just kind of playing around with it. If they can do that, I think Scoot will be fantastic, but I will be interested to see whether it's Scoot and everything else keeps going or Scoot or everybody else, just like we asked with Denny.
All right, Dave Deckard, the man behind BlazersEdge.com. Dave, I love talking ball with you, and I can't wait until next week when I get to see you face-to-face, buddy.
Absolutely. We'll have a great time, and hope the Blazers show well against Denver. I mean, anything that looks not horrible would probably be a step forward.
I agree. There's Dave Deckard. Appreciate it, buddy. There's Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com. He'll be back on, and he'll be in town next week, which is great, before the Thunder game. All right, we'll come back, and when we do, we're going to head to Denver. Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA. We'll get his take on the new-look Nuggets, playing great basketball right now. I think they had 40 assists in their latest win. Jokic is a stud. Obviously, they got depth. And we'll get his take on the Broncos. Greatly concerned about their game at Houston. We'll see what Ryan thinks about that matchup next. Yeah, I just looked it up. The Nuggets, who are off to a great start, they're going to be in Portland tomorrow night. They hammered the Pelicans by a score of 122-88, 40 assists in the game for Denver. They've got added depth. They've got Jokic. They've got Aaron Gordon, who is an emerging superstar. And Coach Adelman doing a heck of a job. Joining us right now from our sister station in Denver, 850 KOA, it's my good friend Ryan Edwards. Ryan, I appreciate your time as always. Boy, you and I talked about this before the season began. We were both fans of what Denver did to kind of retool that bench. And so far, they look dynamite, my friend.
They really do. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and that was the thing last year. I was talking with Dave Logan, my co-host today, and we were reminiscing a little bit from last year on how that was the big discussion point. Is like, man, this bench looks really, really thin. You're going to need a lot from your starters. Well, this year they went out and they bolstered it. I mean, bringing back Bruce Brown's always going to be popular, but getting Hardaway, certainly getting some size there with Jonas Valanciunas is a big deal too. I think, that there's not a lot to be down about. I guess maybe with the small forward position right now with Cam, but otherwise I think they're about as complete as it gets. Now, again, the West is really tough. I think Portland, as you pointed out, they're improved. You got your own things you're dealing with, but it's going to be a tough road. But I feel like they're as good a position as they've been in a long time. Yeah,
can you recall a time where the Western Conference was this deep from the very top, maybe 10 or 11 down? I've never seen it like this, Ryan.
No, I haven't either. And we were kind of going through some of those teams today. I mean, teams that have been out of it, historically over the last few years, like the Spurs, for example, may have the MVP candidate on there. Golden State's going to be there. The Lakers, of course, are always going to be sort of competitive in the mix. I mean, we know in Minnesota, Oklahoma City is what everybody's chasing. I mean, it's sort of top to bottom. I mean, Minnesota right now is out of the playoffs. I mean, it's very early, right? But, they're going to be back in it. Houston. Oh, my God. Houston, yes. I think could be really, really good this year. So, yeah, from top to bottom, there's just not a lot of holes. Dallas, of course, probably thinks they're going to still contend, even though I don't think they are. There's just so many good teams right now in the West, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think for fans of basketball, these matchups are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was trying to think of it through a Nuggets perspective with the Western Conference. Like, this game tomorrow night in Portland, the Trailblazers are no longer a give-me victory, right, because of their length and their athleticism and their pace of play. And that's the way the West is. If you don't show up ready to go, especially on the road, you can get punked on any night.
That's completely true. And I said the exact same thing earlier today. I said, I mean, we knew they beat New Orleans last night. Like that wasn't a surprise to anybody. In fact, most people said, and you hate to say this about a professional basketball team. You're like, listen, if the starters are still playing in the fourth quarter, you probably did something wrong. And that's just to say that the Nuggets really are on a different tier. But this is going to be a really good game tomorrow night against Portland. And you guys are 3-2, I believe, right now. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these two teams match up. And you said it, Portland has had a tough stretch here, but you guys look like you're poised to be much better this year.
Well, it'd be a lot more helpful if your freaking center, Jokic, wasn't also a guard who can play in the pick and roll out on top of the circle and bring the center away from the basket. It's like, what in the world do you do with that? It's just insane how good he is. Insane.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And it's like, teams have been trying to figure that out for years, and it's like, good luck. I mean, because just when you think like, okay, well, we got to match up, and I am fascinated to see Houston because of all their size too. But yeah, you just think like, okay, well, we figured it out. We've got the right mix of players that can go toe to toe with him. But then, yeah, he's bringing it up. He's standing at the top of the key, and you're like, all right, well, that's where I got to bring my center now. But then you're going to leave all these lanes open for the pass, and he's had a few already to start the season. He's averaging a triple-double through the first 4 games, and he's again putting up these highlight reel passes. I just don't know. I don't know what you ultimately can do to really slow him down. I guess it's really at this point, because Jamal Murray's off to such a hot start, it's kind of slowing down some of the other guys right now.
Yeah, no question. All right, you mentioned your partner, Dave Logan, voice of the Broncos. So this weekend, when they take on Houston, will that be game number 600 for Dave?
Yes. Yeah, we found that out this week. That is incredible.
Awesome.
Career spending 38 years, I believe it is. I'm probably saying that wrong, but yeah, 600 games calling the Broncos, and he doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon.
No, it's so cool, and you experienced this too because you're a sports fan. But for these play-by-play voices, for a guy like Dave Logan, for me, like I've spent so many years listening to him, and so he's like part of the soundtrack of my life, and that's a big deal to me. That's cool.
Oh, that's 100% right, and it's that way universally for Broncos fans. I mean, he's all the Super Bowl champions. That's Dave Logan. He was on the call for all of them, and you just think like the energy he brings. It's fun for me because I'm usually back in the studio doing the pre and the post game, but I get to listen to the calls while I'm watching it on TV, and it just. You get really amped when he yells "Here we go" or when he says touchdown Denver, and I don't know, man. There's a certain amount of when you're a radio fan, the radio play-by call. There's a romanticism to it because you kind of want a little bit of a homer call in it, but he does it in such a way that he's still fair when he calls games. And like I said, for Broncos fans, it's a must listen almost every week.
All right, Ryan, I am concerned about this weekend with the Broncos game in Houston against the Texans. Now, I'm also excited because you and I both know you win 5 straight games in the NFL. You're doing something right. I mean, there haven't been too many times over the last 30-plus years. I've been watching games where they've been able to win 5 straight. That's tough. But what I'm concerned about is, number one, I think Houston's defense is still not getting the credit they deserve. They are terrific, and they've got some guys on the edge who can create all sorts of problems. But what I'm wondering about now, too, with Houston discovering kind of a short passing game against the 49ers, their offense looks like it might be primed to play a little bit better. But the other issue is Denver, without Pat Surtain, I think Denver runs man coverage more than 50% of the time, which is by far the most in the NFL. How much is their defensive attack going to change without Surtain on the field for a few games? And what is Vance Joseph's approach going to be?
I mean, it's going to have to change. I think the mindset of being attacking is still going to be there. Maybe you're going to be in a little more zone because you don't have Pat Surtain, but they really do believe in their depth. It's a reason why they drafted Chris Abrams-Strain last year, and then the reason why they added Jahdae Barron in the first round this year is that they wanted to be one of the deeper teams there in the secondary because they knew eventually it would be tested, whether it was going to be Riley Moss or Jaquan McMillan. And I mean, they knew that there was going to be a time when they were going to have to dip into the secondary. Of course, you don't want to lose your defensive player of the year, but I like how Vance Joseph said it today because he was asked a question about preparing for the Texans and how they have some guys that are kind of banged up, and what are they? How difficult is it to prepare for a team that really may not have all its guys? And he said, well, they have to prepare for us too, and they have to prepare for the fact that we've been rolling Pat Surtain out there, and now they don't know what we're going to look like without him. And I was like, man, that's such a great point. And I think they are looking forward to the challenge of what they can do. And Vance Joseph, listen, he's been a revelation as a defensive coordinator for this team in his second stint with the Broncos. So I think overall there's a swagger with this team right now, coming off of 5 straight wins and beating Dallas the way they did, who is this vaunted offense. I feel like they're listen, you don't want to be without Pat, but I feel like they're pretty excited about the opportunity to see what their defense can do.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was excited about the offense. I like seeing the run balance where they felt like they could do anything they wanted against Dallas. I think this will be a good test for Bo and the offense and the offensive line against a good defense to see if they can go out there and be able to put together some sustained drives. Like, don't you think this will be a good test for them to kind of see where they're at after 5 quarters of great offense against the Giants and Cowboys?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Joe Lombardi, their offensive coordinator, said this is the best defense that they've played, and he's absolutely right. I mean, not just because they're the number 1 scoring defense, but they're just so fast, and they're good at all 3 levels. I don't think they have a lot of weaknesses. The biggest weakness, actually, from a statistic standpoint, is they're terrible in the red zone. But you got to actually get there to the red zone to score on them. But that's the thing is like they don't really allow a lot of those opportunities. They close very, very fast. and they can get home with 4. They've got, I don't know, I think Will Anderson should probably be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. He doesn't quite have the sack production yet, but it's coming, and he gets a lot of pressures, and it's going to be a fun matchup. But, again, the offense also is feeling pretty good after the way they've been playing the last few weeks. And they've won pretty and they've won ugly. And I think that's where I'm kind of landing on my belief that they're going to win this game, is that they have found sort of a formula for themselves, and there's a belief internally that no matter what's going on in the game, as long as there's time left on it, we still have a chance, and they play like that.
Yeah, no question. You got to be able to win ugly. But I'm looking at the standings now, like these games, like trying to find a way to scratch out a tough road win at Houston. Like, I mean, they're in a position now, Ryan, where they can position themselves to make a good run at the AFC West this year. You didn't know going in what the Chiefs would look like, but based on the standings and some of the games they got coming up, like they're in a prime position to make a run at the division. That's a big deal.
Well, and that was the stated goal. I mean, that's what Sean Payton said in his post-season press conference last year. He said, next year we're going for the AFC West. And, in the moment, you're like, well, that's great. You just won, 10 games and got smoked by Buffalo. It's good to say things like that, but how does that look? Well, what they did is they brought back 87% of the roster because they felt like they had the right guys already here. They added a couple of key players in free agency, and Evan Ingram and J.K. Dobbins and Talanoa Hufanga and Drake Greenlaw, who we're going to see a lot more coming up this game. We talk about Pat Surtain missing him, but you're also getting a stud inside linebacker back, which is going to be a really big deal, who also knows a lot about D'Amico Ryans, just saying. And then, you added some draft picks who are now starting to flourish, right? R.J. Harvey is Rookie of the Week with 3 touchdowns. Pat Bryant got his first touchdown. Jahdae Barron got his first interception. So I can see where the confidence came from, but, it's like one thing to have potential and possibility. It's another thing to go out there and execute it. But I absolutely agree with you. They're right where they want to be, and I think that they're believing in sort of an all-gas, no-brakes opportunity.
You were talking about, some of the young guys. With Bo Nix, he's learning how to win ugly. But, I'm not too worried about Bo right now because, a lot of great quarterbacks, it takes maybe year 3 before they really start to hit. But with Bo, doesn't that show something where he can go through long stretches of struggles but then find a way to bounce back and be at his best late in the game? I think that's a pretty good trait.
I think it's a great trait. I mean, it's the trait, right? I mean, of course, you want to be good in the red zone. You want to be good you want to be good on third down. Those are all important traits. But the hard part is being clutch. You see quarterbacks. We see teams be good on scripts. We see teams that can get off to early leads, but then they have a hard time holding on to it. It's a lot harder, the way they're doing it anyways, is to struggle early on and then find a way, no matter what is happening in the game up to that point, to put yourself in a position to maybe win, if not win. And they've come back 3 times so far this season. Now, of course, you don't want to do it that way long term. It's not sustainable. But if you look at it in terms of, okay, you've got the hard part down, now figure out how to be better on first and second down and be better in first and second quarters. And then you can put yourself in better position with this defense to close these games out in a much more sustainable way, which is what they did against Dallas. And so they feel like they found something, not just because Dallas is a bad defense, but they feel like they found something there to be better with the run game early on in the game, better blocking, be better on first and second down. The biggest stat that jumped out to me in that last game was they were 5 for 8 on third down, and even one of those third down attempts was late when Jarrett Stidham was in, when they were just trying to run some clock. So let's say 5 for 7 on third down. But the fact that they only saw 7 third down attempts tells you everything you need to know. They were very successful on first and second down. They just didn't even put themselves in that position to have to convert a third down. And, again, you're not going to be able to do that every week, but I think that they believe that that's a formula that they can continue.
Well, Ryan, as always, I appreciate the time, buddy. Enjoy this weekend with game number 600 with your partner, Dave Logan. I think that's an awesome milestone, and, man, it's going to be fun. This Bronco team, 5 straight wins. They got me pumped up right now. It's got to be a lot of fun to cover, too.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you having me on.
You got it. There you go. Ryan Edwards. I love that guy. So cool with his time and always willing to talk little Broncos. He's very impressed with the Nuggets. 40 assists in that win over the Pelicans. The Nuggets play the game the right way. Happy for Coach Adelman. He got the gig. I just hope that they're not quite as sharp for that game tomorrow. That's all. It would be great to see Portland come back home and get a win against a legitimate foe in the Western Conference. And with the way the Blazers are competing right now, they're going to be in a position to win some of these games, which is terrific. Next 3 home games, they're going to see Denver, they're going to see the Lakers, and they're going to see the Thunder. So there you go. I think it's Friday, Monday, Wednesday. But yeah, concerned about the Broncos this weekend. Texas defense is legit. Thursday Night Football, Ravens early 7-3 lead on the Dolphins. They got a turnover, converted into a touchdown. They took a 7-3 lead. So we'll see what the Dolphins can do. And the Ravens, not really sure what to think about the Ravens right now because they get Lamar back, but they're still banged up, and their defense has been brutal so far this year. So we shall see. I think the Ravens in this game is 7.5-point favorite. One thing we'll do next, and don't forget tomorrow, tip-off with the Nuggets at 7. Chris Burkhardt will have game day at 5. One thing we will do coming up next, I want to share a voicemail. I don't even know the guy, but he was, like, really angry. And I think my bosses enjoy just forwarding voicemails to me. I had nothing to do with it. But I think sometimes people get confused because we have so many stations and different things in town that they get us mixed up with somebody else. But crazy times. People be crazy. You give them a voicemail, and they don't expect anyone to give them a return call or whatever. People just say whatever they want. People be crazy. The streets of Portland be harsh out there. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. Don't forget, we are your best place for coverage of the Trailblazers in town. We got Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhardt. We have the Trailblazer Insider Show Tuesdays with the replay on Wednesday with Sean Highkin. We've got Blazer Wrap-Up with Brendan Slaughter. Thursdays with the replay on Friday. Plus, we have all of our Trailblazer podcasts, including Section 113 with Travis and I. The Blazers Balcony with Casey Holdaw and Brooke Olzendam. And the Briefcase with Casey Holdaw. So we've got everything covered for you throughout the course of the week, not to mention all of the games. And with each and every game, you can listen live via our free iHeartRadio app. All right, we'll keep things rolling. I'm live here from Spirit Mountain Casino, getting ready for the $3 million Crack the Code prize vault coming up at 8:15. Your place to bet on college sports is right here at Spirit Mountain Casino. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You got the Rip City Drive. What's Chad doing? All right, Rip City Drive. I sent this over to Brendan, and I was like, hey, it's going to be difficult work, but you got to make sure that you put in enough beeps to where we can play it. So, I don't know. I just got this forwarded to me. Apparently, somebody got our station confused with another station because this person was under the impression that we were going to play the World Series. We don't have the rights to Major League Baseball. We never have. So there'd be no reason why I'd be promoting, or I would even say it on air, that we're going to play the World Series with the Dodgers and Blue Jays. But I did get this voicemail. It sounds like he might be kind of upset. Take a listen.
Thanks, 6:20 a.m. Portland, for not playing the World Series, even though said you're going to play the World Series. Pieces of lie to people about that.
Dude, I love it so much. So angry, and that voicemail is only like 10 seconds, and yet he was able to squeeze in like multiple bombs.
Yeah, Chad, I needed a lot of the bleep button on that one. You were going to have my work cut out for me on that one.
Yeah, he was very upset. But we don't have rights. So I responded. He also emailed through the website, and so I got that email. I responded. Of course, no response. Like, hey, what's up, bro? We don't have the rights to Major League Baseball, so we would have never said that. But, like, how angry – think about that, though. Like, how angry do you have to be to not only leave a voicemail – and I don't even know where that voice box is at. I don't even know if I have a voicemail at the station. People have access to me. I give out my cell number, for crying out loud. I don't even know how that happens. I just know I get occasional voicemails forwarded to me. That one was a little more belligerent than some of the others I get. And sometimes people will write me letters. Like that one person that wrote me that letter a few months ago telling me that I need to rethink about my life goals because I was looking forward to the offseason and playing a bunch of golf. So there you go. That's what I deal with on a daily basis. No one ever reaches out to say, hey, I just want to let you know that was a pretty good show. Hey, Chad, thank you for all the countless hours that you put into the local sports scene and then giving an honest effort to provide some type of enjoyment every day. Those calls don't come in. No one leaves a voicemail saying, you know what, I really just want to let you know that you did a good thing. It was a smart thing to bring Chad back and hire him. Because, you know, he does put in some time and he cares about the things we care about. And he likes community. No one's ever left that voicemail. But if someone thinks that we said we're going to play the World Series, they're definitely going to leave a voicemail to complain about that, which is pretty funny to me. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Alec Boy reached out and says, your family power rankings were pretty funny. Yeah, they're not funny for my daughter right now, who's in the number 3 hole behind Schatz and Isaac. Isaac normally is trending towards 3 most of the time because Isaac is Isaac, but he's had a pretty good stronghold on number 1 of late. So Schatz and Kaylee have some work to do.
I love that you power rank your house, Chad. Like, it's literally awesome. Like, ever since you said that a couple weeks ago, I was like, that's awesome.
There's things that people say all the time that are lies. Like these people that say, I love all my children the same. No, you don't. I certainly don't. It depends on the day. It varies day to day, I can tell you that much. Scotty Bethune reached out, and he said, wasn't Brendan in middle school like 2 years ago? It feels like it. How old are you, Brendan? Have you hit 30 yet?
Sorry, Chad, I was taking a phone call. What was your question there?
Have you hit 30 yet?
This next April, 29 years young.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Scotty, Brendan was in middle school a couple years ago. And he also says if we get Miami a view at U of O somehow, I'll be there in orange and green, baby. LFG. Oh, I know. I'm telling you, man. I looked at that, with the AP rankings right now. You would get potentially Miami and Oregon in the first round at Autzen. Tell me that wouldn't be awesome. Of course it would be. It would be terrific. We need that in our lives. 503-248-0620. I also got a message from, let's see, we got phone callers? Yeah, let's go out to Brian. Brian's in Gresham. Brian, I appreciate the phone call. What's on your mind? Fire away.
What's up, Chad? Hey, man, I just want to call and thank you for all your hard work, man. You are the OG. Like, I wouldn't even, not to diss anyone else on the station, but I listen to CIP on 620 when I'm driving home. And
dude, I appreciate that.
Way back in the day, burn on my buddy, Steelers Sam, when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. You went above and beyond to have Steelers Sam eat crow. when it was your Broncos that lost. I didn't even know that was your team, and I have always appreciated how you did that. You are awesome.
Oh, dude. Oh, I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you so much, man. And I remember that. And what was funny, nice work, Brian. What was funny about that is that going into the game, it was awesome to be able to cover a Broncos Super Bowl against the Seahawks locally because, I grew up going to Broncos and Seahawks games, which were awesome. Because I used to go to the King Dome, and they were in the same division. And then when they realigned, the Seahawks went to the NFC. So it was a lot of fun, but I knew going into that game that the Broncos were going to lose. And I predicted on my show before the game the Seahawks were going to win because I've seen enough of those big games to know that the better defensive team is going to get the job done. Seahawks fans didn't really know what to do with that. So when the game unfolded the way it did not surprise me. I'll take the best defense over the most powerful offense all day. But I'm thankful the Seahawks kicked their ass like that because it forced Elway to change the way that he had put the team together. And so he ended up getting rid of John Fox. They hired Gary Kubiak. And within 2 years, the Broncos have built the best defense in the NFL, and they won a Super Bowl that way. That's pretty sweet. But, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Brian from Gresham reaching out to thank me for the efforts. Better than the voicemail we got from someone complaining. But I do think that's funny.
Brian's a real one, Chad.
Thank you, Brian. Brian's my man, Brian from Gresham. Also, I got a text message from my buddy Michael Allen Harrison. And I'm a big fan of Michael Allen Harrison. And he says, Tab, going back to the discussion from Brendan, he said they had Tab available at his school. He said Tab was a Diet Cola designed for women. It came out when women had their own cigarettes, so they had to have their own diet soda. My mom drank it every day. This was back in the 60s. It tasted like watered-down Coke with no sugar and a hint of bitters. It was really weird. I think the cigarettes were called Virginia Slims. So Tab and Virginia Slims kind of went together. It's funny. I remember the Virginia Slims magazine commercials, and it was always like, like a group of ladies all holding their cigs in their hands. Interesting.
But
I remember
like a pretty
Tab, of
apt
course.
Description of Tab, though. I got to give credit to that. That seems pretty apt.
Do they still sell Tab?
No.
Is it still available?
No, it got discontinued. I remember we talked about it on the morning show a handful of years ago. Like, it got discontinued shortly after COVID. So the generation that drank Tab, I think, came and went, Chad.
Yeah, I love that. Tony and Boring sent me a message. He said, I hope Isaac slid down the power rankings at least to number 2 after returning your birthday gift to the delivery guy who brought it out to the crib. It's true. Isaac looked at it. And it didn't have, it had a different name or whatever, and Tony had sent me a package. And Isaac took one look, and he's like, that's not here. And he handed it back to the delivery guy, and it put Tony on a wild goose chase. All right, big thanks to Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program. Dave Deckard from BlazersEdge.com, Sean Highkin, Ryan Edwards, and Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casino. I appreciate your time, my friends. We're back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3. Game day will be at 5. Tip-off with the Nuggets at 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Enjoy your evening.